The Vermillion City Council meeting scheduled for Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 at 6 p.m. will come to order. Alex, will you call roll?
Toller. Lieber. Here. Price. Here. Holland. Here. Genowine. Here. Hellwig. Here. Cheeseman. Here. Murrah. Here. Mayor Cole.
Here. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the February 2nd, 2026 special meeting along with the February 2nd, 2026 regular meeting? If so, are there any changes to the minutes or is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Cheeseman. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Murrah. Any other discussion on the minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay. Minutes are approved. Adoption of the agenda. If everyone has a chance to review the agenda, are there any motions to change the agenda or a motion to adopt?
Approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda by Councilor Price. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Lieber. Any other discussion on the agenda? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by saying nay. Agenda is adopted. For visitors to be heard, please come to the podium, speak your name and address. For items not on the agenda, members of the public may speak under visitors to be heard on any topic not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes and no decision will be made at this time. On each agenda item, public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced or explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes to speak on each agenda item may speak for 5 minutes, and public testimony will then be closed and the topic given to the governing body for possible action. At that point, only city council members and staff may discuss the current agenda item unless council member moves to allow another person to speak and unanimous consent from the council. Questions, however, may be directed to a staff or member of the public through the presiding officer. We also ask that if there are any visitors to be heard on any consent agenda item, which is line number 7, please come and speak during visitors to be heard to speak on any consent agenda item. At this time, are there any visitors to be heard?
Mayor Cole and members of the council, good evening. I'm Dick Hammond. I live at 25 Prentice Avenue, and I'm here to, on the behalf of several homeowners in our neighborhood, namely on Prentice, Main, and Anderson Streets. We are neighbors to a wooded lot that's owned by VCDC that's possibly would be developed for 6 to 8 houses at some time in the future. We would like to retain the neighbors we have, the rabbits and raccoons and other wildlife and the numerous birds that reside within that set of woods. I've attended several meetings over the last few years regarding the need for additional housing in Vermillion and the surrounding rural areas. I agree there's still a need for new housing to be developed on new and existing lots. However, in the last few years, the availability of potential housing lots have increased dramatically. If the Jefferson Street project is approved, our natural space, Prentice Forest, would be eliminated with little benefit to the town. I'm here to explain why I think it's in the best interest of Vermillion to preserve Prentice Forest as a natural space in the city and to develop housing opportunities elsewhere. Natural settings as these are rare in our area. Only 2 similar upland forested areas exist in or near Vermillion. Though I think these other forests should also be preserved, development of both of those involve less infrastructure cost to the city and are held by private interests, presumably driven more by profit motives than public-oriented organizations like the City of Vermillion and VCDC. You may question why I refer to this place as Prentice Forest. First, our forest fits the definition of forest and urban forest as defined by the U.S. Forest Service in a publication by Gary Robertson and Andy Mason with the U.S. Forest Service. This document also outlines the many reasons that a municipality should preserve such forests as valuable community resources. Second, our forest has been identified as Prentice Forest by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology at Cornell University in Cornell, New York. I found this bit of information while using the lab's Merlin bird identifier, sitting on my back porch, and the app identified 31 different birds that happened to be there in a 15-minute period last spring. What was really interesting is the app itself identified where I was sitting as being in the Prentice Forest. In other words, a national organization identifies this little bit of land as something that's special. Professor David Swanson has also provided an explanation of the benefits of the forest to birds and to students and faculty at USD. That's attached as page 3. We adjacent residents view the forest as a benefit to living in this neighborhood. This bit of nature in our backyards was a major draw for us to purchase our homes. To emphasize our commitment to the preservation of this forest, we have circulated a petition of support to retain this important community feature. So far, approximately 300 Vermillion citizens have signed that petition. Of petitions I have personally circulated, only 3 persons have declined to sign. Vermillion leadership has been very successful in lining up new lots ready for development. 83 lots are platted or ready for platting, according to the VCDC and other published data. Also, Vermillion has added 105 acres of land for development north of Walmart, in the Munger Addition, and in the Blue Stem Trail development out in the Crawford Road area. As the billboards on I-29 proclaim, Vermillion has lots and lots and lots of lots. VCDC has set a goal of 20 new single-family builds this year, and presumably about the same will be planned for future years. So we have about a 4-year supply of those 83 lots that are presently here. We have lots and lots of lots, but precious little natural space. Please leave Prentice Forest at what we think is its highest and best use. Thank you. I think I only did about 4 minutes.
5.5. Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Are there any other visitors to be heard?
Good evening, Mayor Cole and the City Council. I'm Suzanne Skirm. I'm at 722 Lewis Street, and I want to speak a little bit about the Vermillion being designated as a tree city. As you know, we were designated as a tree city by the Arbor Day Foundation in 1985, and this program helps us to maintain a healthy tree canopy, which contributes to our cleaner air, to our improved stormwater management, energy savings, increased property values and commercial activity, and perhaps most importantly, environmental well-being. Most residents of Vermillion know that the city offers a re-tree initiative and also manages trees in order to combat pests like the emerald ash borer. So the mission of the Arbor Day Foundation is to inspire people to plant, nurture, and celebrate trees. A 2019 publication in Tree City Bulletin is entitled, "What is the Urban Forest?" The term urban forest is applicable to smaller communities, and therefore it is sometimes referred to as the community forest, or the urban and community forest. Trees along streets are part of the urban forest, as are trees in places such as golf courses, parks, cemeteries, college campuses, arboretums, and natural areas. Natural areas are important parcels of woodland, sometimes situated inside of city limits. They make environmental and social contributions. They are part of the urban forest, and for maximum benefit require protection and management. Prentice Forest is one of these natural areas. The Arbor Day Foundation has stated that the need for trees right now is at a critical moment. In most urban areas across the country, tree coverage is on the decline, and one reason for this is development. It's estimated that by the year 2050, nearly 70% of the world's population will be living in cities. As urban centers make room for the advantages that come with growth and development, trees and green spaces are often left out of the planning phase. A lack of trees creates environmental and climate stressors like the urban heat island effect. And this is, as the climate warms, urban areas with few trees and lots of concrete become hubs for this effect. Trees help to lower the street temperatures by up to 10 degrees and also lessen the harsh effects of storms like rainwater runoff and flooding. Trees also help deter light and noise pollution from traffic and sirens and artificial lighting. These neglected pollutants can cause stress to urban residents. Trees can help absorb, deflect, or refract sound waves, reducing some of this stress. Mental well-being is also an important benefit of trees. 49% of the American population reports frequently experiencing stress. Multiple studies have shown that being around trees and simply looking at trees can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and boost mood. 90% of Americans say that trees and green spaces contribute to their mental well-being, while 85% say that spending time in nature surrounded by trees is like a reset button for their minds and souls. Another big benefit to being a tree city is our public image. A community's public image is a very real phenomenon and important in many ways. Being a Tree City USA helps present the kind of image that most citizens want to have for the place they live in or conduct business in. The Tree City USA signs at community entrances tell visitors that here is a community that cares about its environment. It's also an indication to prospective businesses that the quality of life may be better here. Prentice Forest in the city of Vermillion is an important parcel of woodland, and it's part of what makes us a tree city. It is an example of a natural area in the city of Vermillion, and it's deserving of maintenance and protection. A city that's to be designated a Tree City USA, a city that's proud to be designated a Tree City USA, should consider protection of an asset such as Prentice Forest to be a priority. And I would ask the people here tonight that support maintaining Prentice Forest to raise their hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other visitors to be heard? Seeing none, our next item on the agenda we have for public hearings is a request for a variance to decrease the required side yard setback along the west side of the property from 8 feet to 7 feet to construct an attached garage to the existing residential structure at 1619 East Main Street. Jose.
Thank you. The city received a petition requesting the side yard setback be reduced from 8 feet to 7 feet for the construction of an attached garage. The property is in the R1 residential district. This district allows for the construction of attached garages as a permitted uses. As a permitted use, the request was made by the owners, Robin and Michelle Moore, and the owners are being represented by AMS Building Systems. I do have a couple pictures here. The council does have these in the packet, but the property in question would be 1619. Right here, this would be Main Street. Across the street is the undeveloped land owned by the Frenches. A little bit to the east would be Crawford Road intersection with Main. This is the lane striping for the left turn lane at that intersection. And a little bit further to the west would be the intersection with Mickelson Street as well. So as you can see right here, there is some room between, to the west of this property, 1619. I do have an additional picture. And I'm going to put it in this fashion just so it's a little bit easier to see. That's Main Street, and here's the house. This is what we call a mortgage plat. It's not an official plat, but it's done by the property owners, required by the title company from the property owner at the time of closing for the property. So this plat itself was done in 2003, and it already shows the house in that lot, and then it also has some distances to the property line from the structure itself. It helps the property owner and the title company to see where the house is situated within the parcel. So the city council, acting as a board of adjustment, hears and decides on any zoning ordinance variance request. Prior to deciding if a variance is to be granted, the board needs to consider any public comment and review the following factors. I do have a table in the packet with all staff comments. I'm not going to go through all of those, but I would like to just really quickly just say that overall, staff believes that there are no hardships associated with this request. That's one of the items. An additional literal interpretation would deprive the owner of the ability to construct the desired garage. You would also say that this variance that's being requested would allow the owner to construct, would be the minimum variance that would allow the owner to construct the proposed garage as stated in the plans, 24 foot. Staff also believes that the granting the variance will comply with the general purpose of the ordinance and the intent of the chapter. An additional comment would be that since 2008, the city council has considered 12 variances of the similar fashion, and out of those, 3 of those were denied due to the proposed use and the location of the actual project. There's no exceptional or extraordinary circumstances that apply to this property. An additional note or comment would be that staff believes that the root cause of the problem or the fact is that the house was not sited on the lot properly. If I could go back to this drawing. As you can see here, the house is actually 10.2 feet away from the property line. The setback that the city has and had at that time was 8 feet. So that means that if the house would have been shifted over to the east, that additional 2 feet, then they wouldn't be here asking for a variance on the west side of the property or on the west side of their house. So this would have allowed for sufficient space for an attached garage to be constructed on the lot. Staff would recommend approval of the variance to decrease the required side yard setback along the west side of the property from 8 feet to 7 feet to construct an attached garage to an existing residential structure. This being a variance, there needs to be a 2/3 vote in favor of the entire board. That means that 6 out of 9 council members would have to vote in favor of the variance.
Thank you, Jose. Are there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing no visitors to be heard, council, for any discussion? Has the neighbor been contacted? Any comment on, I'm assuming the neighbor to the west?
To the west. I'm not sure if they have or not. They have, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming they're okay? Because we're talking about 4 inches overall?
Yeah, the actual request is 4 inches. I put in there a foot just to grant for a little bit more leeway. And it was posted as well, so it was on the paper and there was a sign in front of the property as well.
Thank you. Any comments or questions by the council? Councilor Holland?
I just think it's a reasonable request, and I make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Holland, and second by Councilor Halligan. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Jose. Next is a request for a variance to decrease the required off-street parking spaces from 89 off-street parking to 81. This is in reference to construction of a multifamily dwelling at the property located at the north side of Roosevelt Street and east side of North Norbeck in the Madison Park addition. Jose?
Again, this is a petition for a variance that was received from the owner, G.A. Hahn Development. They were asking to reduce the required off-street parking spaces from 89 to 81. This property, the property owner is planning on developing or constructing 3 apartment buildings within this site. The area is zone R3 residential, which does allow for multifamily dwellings to be constructed at that location. The parcel is located, as you mentioned, just on the north side of Roosevelt Street to the west of Norbeck. I do have a drawing here showing the proposed plan. This again was is in the packet, but here, let me move it up a little bit. This would be Roosevelt Street, that's north. So you can see that there's 3 buildings located within this area. There's parking on the north side. There's garages along all of the units. And then there's also parking spaces that would be allowed within the front of those garages, at least in 2 of the buildings. In addition to that, there's parking over here, here, and here. And these areas here are either for drainage purposes or green space. Additionally, there's a playground area for the community on the north end of that middle structure. Again, the City Council, acting as a board of adjustment, has to consider several criteria. These are, once again, listed on the packet, on the memo. For the most part, staff does not believe that the shape of the parcel or the topography affects this development. This is truly the owner trying to maximize the use of the land by building apartments in there, as many as he can put in there, with the idea of still having some areas for green space and amenities for the neighborhood. Again, literal interpretation would deprive the owner of the ability to construct the desired number of dwellings. This would be a minimum variance that would allow the owner to construct the proposed multifamily dwellings as proposed. One item that I would like to have a little bit more conversation, I guess, or bring it up a little bit more to the council would be that granting the variance will comply with the general purpose. In this case, this is the 3rd development that the property owner has done in Vermillion. The other 2 are just south of Roosevelt Street, so Madison Park 1, Madison Park 2, and this would be Madison Park 3. The first development that happened, that development, they met all of the parking requirements. At that time, parking in the garages was counted. It did, even though it did not account or was counted on a 1-to-1 basis, it did reduce the required parking spaces from 95 to 74 spots. So keep that in mind. No variance was granted at that time or requested. They just were able to meet the requirements by following the ordinance. The second development, so Madison Park 2, the developer did ask for a variance at that time. Reason being is that at that time, the city ordinance was changed, so the garages did not count towards off-street parking. So for that second variance requested, they came to the council and they actually had documentation how the parking was utilized for that phase, or Madison Park 2. And they were able to ask the council for the council to count the garages on a 1-to-1 basis. So this reduced the parking by 40 stalls. And again, after that, they did meet the required off-premise parking. In this instance, staff believes that the reduction of 8 parking spots will comply with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance. The owner also states within their application that the garages in the previous elements are mostly used for parking vehicles. Since 2008, the City Council has only considered 1 variance, reducing the off-premise parking, and that was, again, Madison Park 2, which obviously was granted. There are no exceptional, extraordinary circumstances that apply to this property. As a final note, staff or the owner has already made changes to the plans to include additional off-street parking. When the conversation was started with the applicant, They were actually short 17 parking spots. After they modified the site, they were still short 8. So that's why the request is 8. And the reason for that is that they're trying to, again, maintain some of the green space for the use of the community and for drainage for the whole site. With all that being said, staff recommends approval of the variance to reduce the required off-street parking from 89 to 81 for the construction of a multifamily development. For the variance to be granted, there needs to be a 2/3 vote. This means 6 out of 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be heard on this?
Jim Peterson, Vermillion Chamber. We'd just like to say, just remind everybody, this is 35 units, 70% are that lower income, medium to lower income in Vermillion. So they do have a tax credit project, they have built others. I talked to the owner today in Arizona, knows we're here, I think it's what staff recommended, or it seems reasonable, the 8 slots. And I think we only count a garage as what, 0.5 versus?
0.5.
0.5.
Yeah, we're not asking for that rate to change, we're just asking for just 8 parking spots to be reduced, I guess, from the request.
Right. And with that, so it's 8 slots total. Most going into this usually are not students. And again, it's that lower income, and they do use the garage, so we think it's a variable request. And just thank City Council for reviewing it, however you vote, and staff recommending, and we support that reduction of the 8.
Thank you, Jim. Any other visitors to be heard on this? Seeing none, move to council for any discussion by council. Just to clarify, so this obviously was one of the tax credit that was approved by South Dakota Housing Authority. I'm assuming part of that application, that approval for the state was based upon the amount of units and space that this project gives, correct?
Yep, so they made their application for, it's 34 units, equal split between number of 2 bedrooms and 3 bedroom units. And you're correct, part of their application, they do lay out the number of units that they would have, those that meet the income, different respective income categories in the 2 or 3 bedroom. They don't approve their plans at South Dakota Housing Development Authority in terms of the layout or that sort of thing, but it was awarded for 38 tax credit sponsored units.
And I guess how many units are in this plan that I'm looking at? I haven't counted them all.
There's 34 total separate dwelling units. They look, if you will, like twin homes, but due to the nature of how they're built, they're technically considered apartments by our code. Correct, Jose? Is that the way to phrase it?
Yeah, so essentially on the first building here to the west, there's 13 units, and there's 8 units in the middle one and 13 on the other one.
Where I'm getting at is just as if we're denying the variance where they had to adjust the amount of units that they had, would that affect the South Dakota Housing Authority's approval?
It would definitely create a process for them because they would have to work with South Dakota Housing Development Authority to modify or change. I don't know if that puts their application, or excuse me, their award, they've been awarded this at jeopardy, but it would definitely start them down a process because they were approved for the number of units.
Thank you, John. Any other questions, concerns by council? Is there any motions?
I'll make the motion.
Motion. Councilor Lieber?
Make the motion to approve.
Motion to approve the variance by Councilor Lieber. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cheeseman. Any other discussion on this variance? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Next item we have is the consent agenda. As you see on the consent agenda, we have the invoices payable. There's a resolution to adjust commercial service curbside recycling collection fee, and an engineering agreement with Houston Engineering for installing monitoring wells and baseline sampling. That is all on the consent agenda. Is there any items that the council wishes to remove from the consent agenda item? Or consent agenda, I should say. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Approval of consent agenda.
Motion approved by Councilor Price. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hellig. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Consent agenda is approved. Next item we have is under old business. We have a second reading of ordinance 1550. This is in reference to signs and signage, particular signing on South Dakota Highway 50 for larger freestanding signs. Go ahead.
Good evening. This is the second reading of ordinance 1550, chapter 152 signs, table 3, to update number, dimensions, and location of individual signs by the zoning district, adding note H to provide for larger freestanding signs along South Dakota Highway 50 bypass. There are no changes or amendments from the first reading, and this will require a roll call vote.
Thank you, Alex. Is there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, any other discussion on the council? No discussion by council, is there a motion? I'll move approval. Motion approved by Councilor Holland, second by Councilor Price. Any other discussion on this item? Move to roll call vote. Eight yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Next item, new business. We have first reading of ordinance 1551. This is placing changes to June 2nd ballot, amending the City of Vermillion Home Rule Charter in reference to financial procedures. John.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an item the council has discussed a couple different times. In essence, what it would do is the city adopted a home rule charter at the November 2020 election. And then in 2021, the state modified state statute, which allowed for the city to adopt a budget later in the year than had historically been the case. The city council in 2025 looked at an ordinance to adjust our budget process to move the budget to reflect this new standard that the state applied through adopted codified law. We found out that the Home Rule Charter that was adopted in 2020 utilized the language and the dates that had always been part of the statutes until they were changed in 2021. So the City Council is unable to adopt an ordinance that would move our budget process back unless the Home Rule Charter is adjusted to modify that. The Home Rule Charter, since it was adopted by the voters, can only be changed by the voters. And so the ordinance before you tonight on first reading is an ordinance that would place this matter on the June 2nd ballot so the citizens could vote on if they wanted to adjust the language in the Home Rule Charter. Then, if that were to pass, the City Council could consider an ordinance to move your budget process back later in the year. I would note in the packet materials that were sent out to you, 2 corrections. One is it does say that the City Council will be developing the ballot explanation that will accompany the question on the ballot. That's a mistake. You're off the hook. The city attorney drafts the language that would be utilized in the ballot, just as it does with the state. The state's attorney general generates that language. The city attorney will generate that language. The second one was an error on staff's part. In the ordinance that's before you, it still utilizes the November 30th date, which is in the new statute, but the council suggested that we move away from putting dates in there, and so we would replace that language with date determined by state statute. And so we would make that change if this advances to a second reading. We do recommend approval of the first reading of ordinance 1551 to move this matter forward to place these changes before the citizenry at the June 2nd, 2026 election.
Thank you, John. Any visitors to be heard on this? Seeing none, council for any discussion? Is there a motion to advance? Motion to advance by Councilor Cheeseman, second by Councilor Holland. Any other discussion? I was really concerned that I was about to say no when
You guys had to
we had to write it up. All those in favor of the motion to advance, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Next item we have is a resolution to annex Munger Tract 1. This is land that is located west of South Dakota Highway 19 and south of the Vermillion River. Jose.
Thank you. So the city has been working with the owner of the property towards annexing the property. The city council approved a pre-annexation agreement on this parcel back in January of 2025. The property in question is located, here's Highway 50 and Highway 19. This is the bypass. So this property is and here's the river, as you mentioned. So the property is north of city limits along Highway 19 on the west side and just south of the river. So everything that we're discussing today is bounded by this blue line on 3 sides, and then obviously adjacent to city limits on the south side. The parcel is split into, or platted into 3 separate tracts, tract 1, 2, and 3, and tract 1 currently has a residence within that parcel. So as I mentioned, the property owner has been working with the city on annexing this property for quite a few years already, or at least a year. If the property were to be developed, the city will be extending utilities to the area so that future lots are served by the city. The land will enter the city limit zone into the NRC, Natural Resource Conservation District. This is the strictest restrictive classification that we have as far as zoning, and allows farming operations within city limits. The land may be rezoned at a later time when it's requested by the owner. The annexation will lead to an increase in the city's property tax base. If developed, the area could lead to new residences and new utility customers. However, to properly develop the area, the city will need to extend utilities north of Highway 19 or Highway 50. This would be an additional crossing besides the one currently being discussed at Princeton and the bypass. There are no estimates for this extension at this time. Administration recommends approving the resolution to annex Munger Tract 1 in the south half and Munger Tract 2 in the southwest quarter of the northeast quarter and the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter, and Munger Tract 3 in the west half of the southeast quarter, all in Section 11, Township 92 North, Range 52, west of the 5th prime meridian, Clay County, South Dakota.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be heard on this item? Seeing none, any discussion by council at all?
Question.
Councilor Lieber?
Could you put the map back up again? I'm just curious, it's not, nothing's gonna change the way I vote, but just there's that little triangle across the river. Just, is that gonna impact anything?
I mean, besides the fact that if this is annexed, there's going to be a triangle of the city north of the river? No? Yeah.
Okay.
Is this gonna be like one of those, I forget what they're called, but there was one in Omaha where Iowa extends into Nebraska, just across, yeah.
Yeah, it's not an Oxbow, so yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Jose, I do have a question. With that residence there already and putting it into NRC, is that gonna affect anything there?
No, that house would still be, it would still be used as a residence. It would be an unconforming use. So there wouldn't be any issues with having that residence within the NRC.
My only concern is making sure that obviously if they're coming in as NRC, one, is our residents know, are they okay with that? Because I don't want a situation where zoning gets changed
Sure.
on something, all of a sudden they're out of compliance on their
So
zoning.
the individual AMS signed the petition.
Okay.
They are the owners of that.
Oh.
So they are aware of it. Yeah.
Nick, are you aware? Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Any other discussion by council? Is there any motions? Motion to approve the annexation? By Councilor Genowine, is there a second? Second. Second by Councilor Lieber. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed by saying nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Jose. Next item we have is authorization to notify electric co-op to intent to serve the said annexed land.
So, I guess the purpose of this authorization is to notify Clay Union Electric, or CUE, of the city's intent to provide the annexed property with city electric power or service, and to offer the purchase of electric distribution properties within the area being annexed. The agenda item coincides with, as you mentioned, with the previous agenda item, which was the annexation. By state law, if the city does not notify a rural electric cooperative within 1 year of the annexation of its intent to serve the annexed area, the annexed area shall continue to be served by the rural electric cooperative. CUE is required by state law to acknowledge in writing, receipt of the notice of intent within 90 days after receiving it. The city has elected to serve all annex areas since a 1992 state law changed the notification time to 1 year from annexation. The city believes there may be one CUE customer in the area, that's the previous house mentioned, to be annexed, and that this dwelling unit will have to be worked out with CUE as far as payments and so forth. CUE was notified via email on February 11th of the meeting today. Yeah, they're here, sorry. The property owner is aware that the city of Vermillion has historically elected to serve all newly annexed areas with electrical services. They were informed of our intent to serve this property as well, and they did not raise any objections. City will work with CUE to identify electrical distribution properties within the annex area. The price for these properties will be established following the state law formula. Once the city begins servicing existing properties, the 7 years of revenue payments will begin. When a new city service is established in the highlighted territory during this next 11 years, lost revenue payments will be made to Clay Union Electric. Administration recommends the city elect to serve the annex area and approve the attached notice of intent to purchase electric utility properties if annexed into the city.
Thank you, Jose. Is there any visitors to be here on this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Chris Larson, General Manager, Clay Union Electric. You're not going to hear anything new from me that you haven't heard for the last 10 years, but it's my duty to get up here and just say we're against the notice for the city to take over the electric service. One of the main reasons, the school's going to lose out on tax revenue from this area. Also, as they've stated, there will be a CapEx cost for the city to put services in there. If you allowed Clay Union to continue to serve it, you would get 6% tax on any of the sales that we would do out there with no investment by the city at all. And the last thing, as they stated, there is a service out there, so basically duplication of services.
Thank you, Chris. Is there any other visitors to be heard on this? Seeing none, move to council for any discussion. Discussion by council. Any motions?
Move approval.
So motion to approve by Councilor Helwig. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cheeseman. Any other discussion on this item? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Jose. Next item we don't have any video, it brings to be city manager's report.
Thank you. Just a couple of upcoming meetings before the next city council meeting on Monday, March 2nd. One is the library board. They have their monthly meeting coming up Wednesday, February 18th at 6 p.m. in the Kozak room at the library. There is a special meeting of the city's Historic Preservation Commission this coming Thursday, the 19th at 9 a.m. in the Powell Conference Room. We have a plan for a house in the Jolly Edition that the commission looks at each of those before the building permit is issued. Just a reminder, the current term of the mayor and one council member from each ward is expiring in July. Petitions to run for these positions are available through the city finance office, and they are due back by 5 p.m. on March 24th. The city is participating in CCOG, which is our regional planning district. They received a Safe Streets for All grant, and that's to evaluate traffic concerns in many southeastern South Dakota communities in the 6 counties here in the southeastern corner. There's 2 ways our community can participate. One is there's a website where individuals can go and they can enter comments. We have a link to it on our city's website. It's not the easiest link to give out. I'll be happy to repeat it. It's just not the easiest to state. They can go to that link and they can take the survey. It might take 10 minutes. You can offer your comments, whether it is pedestrian, vehicular, or bike traffic in the community. A second way is Vermillion is one of the communities they selected, CCOG and their consultants, to do an open house. And so tomorrow night, CCOG will be having this Safe Streets for All open house from 5 to 7 on the second floor of City Hall. We know it's going to be utilized in the council chambers. They may spill out into the hallway with some of their demonstrations, to some of the information that they have to present. So there's an open house tomorrow night from 5 to 7 p.m. I believe they're also at the Dakota Valley Vermillion High School basketball game with an open house or a table that you could offer comments there. So during the month of February, they're trying to gather as many comments that people might have about traffic safety. You can do comments on Vermillion, Alcester, a whole different series of communities in southeastern South Dakota that are participating. We do have one raffle notification. The Vermillion After Prom Committee, this just came in this afternoon. They are selling tickets at $30 each or two for $50. Ticket sales start tomorrow the 18th and run through March 6th of this year. The prize is a travel voucher worth $4,000. There will be two of these $4,000 travel vouchers awarded. And the proceeds will go to help support the After Prom committee activities for prizes, rentals, and food. You do need to be 18 years of age to win this particular raffle. And then something that the council talked about a while back, the Mayor for the Day essay project. I think that was probably last year when you talked about that at one of your noon meetings. They're going to be working on those essays. The middle school is going to be starting that curriculum here over the next couple of weeks. And I think you'll be seeing those essays in the first part of March. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, John.
Can I ask you a question?
Councilor Price, go ahead.
John, so this CCOG study grant about traffic concerns, it seems like some of the most active conversations that we've had about traffic issues lately have been about going across the highway, right? And the new traffic congestion around the development of the new school. Is this a good opportunity to provide feedback on those issues, or is the study that they're doing have the potential to impact those things or not because they're the state highways? Could you comment on that?
Sure, great question. Actually, whether it is on a state highway or a local street, any of those comments are appropriate to go into this. It doesn't need to be just either state highway or just local streets. By participating, part of the reason that you decided as a city council to participate in this is we believe that there'll be follow-up funding available, grants through this program. So the ability that we have to identify community needs will position us to be able to apply for grants when those become available to help with this. That doesn't mean that DOT will automatically approve the projects that we might have in mind, but it will at least position us and qualify us as an eligible entity if everything lines up to apply for grant funding for it.
Great, thank you.
So the worse we say it is, the more, like,
Yeah, so-
we get money?
Yeah, I think it doesn't hurt. I would say, Jose took the comments that we received about January 29th, the last week of January when you had the public meeting here, where people could offer comments on Highway 50. He went through the written comments that we had received. Those were forwarded to DOT, but they were also entered into this Safe Streets for All website to the degree that we could decipher them, read the writing and everything like that. Those comments have already been entered into that survey. So we were doing pretty good leading with a number of comments from our community. I have not looked at it lately.
I think we had 40 comments or so from that meeting. And last time I checked last week, I think we were up to 70 total comments.
Relatedly, I know that sometimes we have received, emails, messages, phone calls about walkability and safety. Are we able to submit those as well from the last few years or so?
Absolutely. So if you felt that a particular block of Main Street you had a concern about, or Cherry Street, or something like that, it is not just limited to Highway 50. This is for throughout the community.
I mean, there were already comments on Clay County roads. So, yeah, I mean, you can quite literally just put whatever you want in there.
Well, what I mean is that can we, as a city, our city staff, can we call some of those messages that we have received previously and submit those?
If you want to email them to me, I guess I will put them in. Or you can also go to the survey site and put them in.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, John. That is all I have on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilor Morris, second by Councilor Lieber. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Meeting adjourned.